Retro anime. How did we find it? How does it hold up? Unpacking the ins and outs of being an old school nerd and proving that 80s kids can't remember a damn thing right. These are the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd.
Welcome to Mindless Midlife Musings of the Anime Nerd. I'm Rick, and I'm joined by the rest of our panel, Vic, Brian, and Lynette. How's it going, everyone?
How's it going?
Hi.
Awesome. Today, we're talking about one of the greatest parody films of all time, Project A-ko, the 80s action comedy science fiction romp. Did we catch every reference, Easter egg, and joke? Hell no. But did we have a good time trying? I'd like to think we did. Project A-ko is a 1986 Japanese anime film. It was directed by Katsuhiko Nishijima. This series references a number of other works from anime from the 70s and 80s, such as Macross, Armageddon, Fist of the North Star, Gundam, and just so many more that we just don't even know. Project A-ko was Central Park Media's first video release in 1991, alongside Dominion Tank Police and MD Geist. Later, they released a dubbed version produced by Manga to VHS in 1992, which takes us to when we first found Project A-ko, 1992. Big year for all of us Floridians. I know for me, it was Blockbuster Video in Naranja Shopping Plaza, where I ended up having a job later in life, and I picked that up off the anime section, and that was just based on the cover, because...
Anime or animated?
Animation. The animation section, to be clear. It was the animation section. And it was probably one of the first 5 or so animated films that I picked up off of that shelf just because the artwork looked so interesting. And yeah, so then I don't know about you. What about you guys? How'd you pick it up?
Oh God, I think it would either have been you or Diego.
I like how he asked this question like the answer's never going to change.
Well, I mean, come on.
You mother-
It's entirely
anything
possible.
$3.95. There's a 99% chance it would involve everyone else.
I'm going to go ahead and say right here, until we get to haiku, which is Lynette, all these are you.
Everything else. All right, fair. It's a blanket statement. I get it. Lynette, was this your first time with Project A-ko?
Yes.
I love that we keep picking titles that you've never seen. It's great. I just think it adds a richness and freshness to it. So, one of the things you were talking about in pre-show was the music, which is something I wanted to comment on because I thought it was such an interesting choice. This from the very beginning had an English soundtrack. The soundtrack was created, produced, recorded, the whole 9 yards in America, in LA, which is practically unheard of for a Japanese anime. So even if you watched this subbed, which I don't know how you guys all watched it, you still got the English produced soundtrack because that's the only soundtrack there was.
I swear I do not know how you find this information.
It is the internet.
Like, we need to do a behind the scenes of how you find this information. Like, for instance.
Wow, it'll just be him searching Google. Bing.
Calling in all my contacts.
Ask Jeeves? What about Ask Jeeves?
Ask Jeeves. Yeah. Well, I used to ask Jeeves, but now, I don't.
So here's my question.
Shoot.
We say Streamline. We have Pioneer. But when we're watching it in the manner that we're watching it, it doesn't say Streamline. It says like Milky or some. You know what I mean?
It says the actual production company that did it, not the distributor.
Okay, so we never really see the distribution. We just normally see the producer.
It's a few rare occasions back in the 90s when we would watch stuff that Streamline would have their logo pre-roll. But for the most part, yeah, they didn't add it. It was just...
I think once DVD started becoming prevalent, they started adding their name, as the DVD started up and not when the actual product that you're watching started.
I think it's problematic to do that, to try and add a pre-roll. I mean, it's pure speculation, but if you're having to dub and resync audio, I think adding an extra 10 to 30 seconds to the beginning could probably screw all that up. So they usually just kind of left the film intact, which is good. Project A-ko. I love this movie. I fell in love with this movie. It's funny because the way it fell for me was I had seen Fist of the North Star before I saw this. I'd seen Vampire Hunter D before I'd seen this. I'd seen Akira before I'd seen this. Of course, Super Dimension Fortress Macross. All of these things that this film was parodying, I had already seen before. So when I first watched this, it was
We got the references.
yeah, we got like a lot of the references. Even to this day, I still know I'm not getting everything, but a lot of it was landing, and I was just rolling through this whole movie. I couldn't stop laughing, and every time I see an Easter egg or a reference, like in a Mel Brooks movie equivalent, you just kind of light up.
Mhm.
What about you guys? Did you catch a lot of that your first time around, or do you feel like it was something that once it was explained to you, it made more sense? It was like, oh, yeah, they are referencing this.
I think that I referenced when the things that I caught didn't feel like it was a parody as more an ignorance. It's like, okay, this is what they're doing. And oh my gosh, it's an alien spaceship that's falling out of the sky. Has to be a trope as opposed to it was being a parody. There are a couple of things that I'm watching it now, and it's like, I can't wait till we talk about these things. But to answer your question, no, I didn't catch. It didn't feel like, oh my gosh, it's Macross. It just felt like it was just another. It's like for me. It felt like, oh my gosh, I just saw somebody do a roundhouse kick in a kung fu movie.
And now I think what's interesting about it is that going into it back in 1992, we didn't know we were watching a parody. Nothing about the
Right.
original packaging, nothing about anything was this is a parody film. It was an anime about a schoolgirl who could kick.
Let me ask a question, and I've been waiting for you, but this wasn't a manga.
No, no, this is an original project. In fact, it was based on my rudimentary Google flu. It was intended to be part of the Cream Lemon adult anime series. And when they started production on it, they got to a certain point and decided, no, we're going to convert this over and just do a mainstream title. So that's probably when they started leaning hard into a lot more of the parody. But yeah, the only scene that apparently made it to the final version that was part of the Cream Lemon series was Biko longing for Siko in the bath. And that's everything else was new.
When I tell you, there are so many hilarious moments in this movie.
That is an understatement.
That's an understatement.
And it's even funnier once you get the references.
There's some genuine. I just like the intro itself. And okay, so now let's start with this. How did you watch it? I watched the dub because that's how I watched it back in the day, and I love the English dub for this for a multitude of reasons I'll bring up. But how did you guys watch it?
This time I watched it sub.
Cool. So
Originally I watched it dubbed, but this time I watched it subbed.
I have never watched it subbed just because I enjoy the dub so much, and it's just something about the cast for the first one. Now they dubbed the second one, the sequel, and they completely recast the whole damn movie, and I feel like it was all the worse for it.
I would agree with that statement.
I watched every one after that in Japanese, but the first one I always watch in English.
I think the second one and the third one, they changed the people again.
Right. It's just completely inconsistent with their casting. So best to stick to the subtitle versions, but there's some gold in the English dub of the first one.
There is. Oh my gosh.
And I don't know if it's in the sub or not, but the very beginning when that guy with his little tiny mustache and his spacesuit's up in there, and it's the way he delivers the line is like it's coming right towards us. Like, anybody else see this? Like, hello.
He's very calm about it.
Yeah, he's like super chill.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was also super just calm and relaxed, and
oh man, I just something about the just almost deadpan delivery of this line, like, so no big deal, guys. Just letting you know.
like, oh yeah, there's something heading right towards us. Oh yeah, it's about to hit.
You know
us.
what it felt like? It felt like, you ever seen Galaxy Quest?
Oh, of course, 1,000 times.
When the guy who played Monk, Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey guys,
it was like, just want to let you know, engine's
They
gonna
said-
blow up or
Well,
something.
They said it's not good. Not good.
That was this guy's energy, and it was great. And then of course you get the Macross reference, the big, the striking and then the whole city building up after that. And then in the English one, again, there's a ton of background exposition through the radio. When she's waking up, the radio's like giving you like all this backstory about what happened to Graviton City and like this stuff. I thought that was a very interesting way to do an info dump for the world building.
Did they ever explain how she got so? Do we even know the answer to that question?
Yeah. Well, it's another Easter egg, but I'll get to it. She's Superman's kid. So the very last scene of this film, well, right before the very last scene, she wakes up and she comes downstairs and mommy and daddy are downstairs and daddy is reading the Daily Planet, or he's got his, his glasses and his, his little S curl going on. And some people speculate the mom is Wonder Woman. I don't buy into that. She's more of a Lois Lane type in my opinion. But the dad is absolutely Superman, reading the Daily Planet with his glasses, just chilling.
Did everybody else catch that too?
No, I did not catch that.
I was just like, hey, look, it's her family actually there for the first time for like a second.
Yes.
I thought that in itself was the Easter egg. I'm
not going to admit how many viewings it took me to catch that part, though. So I've seen this.
No, I think that's important because I really, how the hell is he so strong?
Right. Well, there you go. In fact, it's another fun little bit. I'll just jump into it. Is that in the third film? I wrote it down. I know we're not talking about all of them, but I'm just going to give you a little bit on this one. In the third film, Cinderella Rhapsody, you find out that the bracers that she wears, that those are power dampeners, that she's stronger with those off. She she removes them for a reason.
Ladies and gentlemen,
so
I wish I could there is a unified look of what
so
on the
now
now that leads me to my second question is how does a bikini make the other chick stronger?
Whoa! Whoa!
I mean, anime magic, right?
Yes, 80s anime logic.
It's
the outfit. It multiplies your strength.
Everything about this,
it was a giant jewel right below her belly button. That's what amplified her power.
That's what I was like. Maybe that's like a shield.
It's got an endless power supply. It's got an endless amount of Akagiyama missiles. It's got everything.
I still love this statement. Not this again.
Yo, so I know you talked about number 2. I'm about number 3. I gotta talk about number 2. So in the second one, you find out that her father steals all of her techno inventions.
He's
right?
basically Tony Stark, but he doesn't know how to do anything.
We're talking about Biko.
Yeah, Biko.
So Biko's father basically is Obadiah Stane. Steals all of her to the point where at the end when he's trying to jettison and jump out, he's wearing the bikini too.
Yes, he couldn't even bother to re-engineer the technology into something cooler. It's just the mankini.
He's wearing with the bra and the pants. He's doing it. I was like, oh my god.
I knew after that I couldn't watch anymore. I was like, my brain hurts right now. I just saw a guy in a bikini.
This series is so self-aware. It really is. Hats off to the people that did this, because think about if they were trying to make this movie today, how much more material they'd be able to use in parody. Like when this came out, the pool was nowhere near as large.
Yeah, when it came out, you had maybe 2.5 decades worth of anime to parody that.
And they managed to every single thing, even down to the characters' names, is a parody or a reference of some kind. With Eiko, Biko, and Siko being generic fill-in names that they use on scripts until they decide what the character is going to be called. All kinds of absolutely bonkers shit about this series.
You just imagine that. It's like, okay, we can't decide what their names are. We'll just use the scribbled ones. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Right.
Who's your favorite character?
I'll let everybody else go first. Who's your favorite character, Lynette?
It's gonna sound really weird, and I can't remember the name of the person, but I just love the character when they came in. The bodybuilder chick with the high pitched voice.
Molly.
Mari.
Molly.
Mari's her name.
I thought it was Molly.
Or as I call her,
Mari.
Ken Shiroko.
Didn't say
Oh my
anything.
god.
Deep grunts. I'm like, okay.
She should have just been called Keiko.
Right? Like, so she walks out and it's like these big deep grunts. That's all you hear. And then when she speaks, she's like, "I'm gonna kick your butt." You're just like, wait. I had to
And it's
rewatch.
funny because they use two different voices for the same character.
And they did it in both. In the English one, they
Yes.
did the same thing, which I respect the hell out of. Is that in the English one is all, and then she's like,
Yeah, she does. She goes, "I'm gonna kick your butt." I was like, I love this character. I don't care about the main people. I just want to see this character more.
it's so
So-
brilliant.
She's my favorite too. She's my favorite. But all right, so there's a scene in episode 2. I know we can't talk. But I actually did a little bit more.
Brian
But
did the
there's a
homework.
scene- yeah, I did the homework. There's an episode in episode 2. There's a part where Seiko is talking to her, and they're at a pool, and Seiko's like throws water on her or something. And says, "Come on, jump on in." Mari does the biggest cannonball that leaves everybody else out the pool, and then they just cut back to her just swimming.
No water in the pool.
There's no water in the pool.
There's so many sight gags. Oh my god.
Oh my
this
God.
movie. I wrote it in the notes because I remember watching this the first time and thinking to myself, is this how girls put on bras? Because Seiko's getting ready and she like puts it on backwards and like flips it around and all this shit. And then of course I was immediately informed by every woman in my life that that's a no. Oh. But man, okay, so the dub casting in this, the voice actors that they hired for the English dub are so great. D, the character D, delivers his lines, and I appreciate that they held so true to the Japanese release in getting voices that didn't play against the characters. Like D, the fact that D is a chick does not come through at all until D is in a bikini, and then you're just like, oh shit, okay.
Battle armor, not a bikini. Battle armor. 80s battle armor.
And I love the hell out of that. I love D. D is one of my favorite characters because D is so dedicated to D's job.
I felt like she was a shapeshifter because when you see her in the beginning, when she's in the bikini and the sword, she's got like the hourglass and she's really strong. But then when you see her again, it's like she's got the big bulk, like she's bulking, like she's starting to Hulk out or something. I was like, is that like an anime angle or what's going on?
You know, the camera adds 10 pounds. So.
That's right, yeah. And Battle, she's flexing. It's like Mari. Mari got mad the shirt like tore and
You know who else I remember? It wasn't until I started watching it. I remembered somebody else who I loved, and it was the captain.
oh my god, the captain.
The drunk?
The one who says he needs a drink.
Oh,
and
the
he's talking.
alcoholic captain.
The Captain
Oh, my-
Harlock. Captain Harlock parody. Oh my god. She was amazing. I love, and I still use, I tell you what, I picked up this line from this movie and I still use it to this day, and it's that, I don't have time to negotiate with you in a civilized manner.
For me, it's the line where they're trying to. She's like, "I need it, and no, not that. The wick."
This is another film that meets my absolute criteria for beautiful destruction. The destruction in this is animated so great because there's so much of it. Because Eiko is a freight train, and everything she touches turns to rubble.
The word you're looking for is juggernaut.
Yeah.
She's the juggernaut. And yeah, everything she touches turns to rubble. And I love beautiful destruction. I've talked about it in Akira. I've talked about it in just about everything. And in this, there's just a ton of beautiful destruction. Intricately animated destruction. And God, I'm in it. I'm so into it. It's just so good.
I ultimately felt bad for D.
For D? Oh, D. Yeah. No, it's like I said, D was great. D was...
No. I'm talking about how much of a victim he was. He was every point. I'm out of the way. Wow. Well, he said, "I'm not in the street no more." I'm like, no, that's probably smart. She comes through the back door right behind him. I'm like,
Looney Tunes logic, man. Every time Dee does anything, it's just. But I loved Dee. Dee was a great character to me. I loved how dedicated she was to her job. I love how like when she's complimented on her job, she starts dropping technical notes as well. I shot at a wider aperture, and the lighting was. She's just like so into what she's doing that she wanted to make sure that they knew how hard the job was and that she was dedicated to it. So I loved Dee and the voice actor for Dee. When they recast Dee in the sequel, I was very disappointed because they opted for
stupid ogre.
Yeah, like a Dee Grante voice, like practically the Hulk.
It was Rocksteady and Bebop.
It was terrible, yeah. And in the first one, Dee. She was this like her voice was this deep, masculine, but I don't know, soft voice, and it was great. It was just so good. And then they opted for the Hulk in the sequels, and it was such a bummer.
Who we will say Dee? I gotta find an actor because I really believe they had Rocksteady and Bebop for Dee's voice part.
For the sequel, it might have been because it was very frustrating to me. A mindless musing I wrote down, right? Because so to get through all this, right? They introduce themselves at school. Seiko is immediately, obviously, the most annoying person on the planet.
Man, apparently Cosmos, because she's a princess.
Yeah, apparently in all the Cosmos, her cooking is. I thought that was hilarious, and I love that that's a running gag. Is that and they know, and at one point, her cooking is so bad that Aiko's body spasms and her bra strap comes off her shoulder, and he's just like, "Oh, sweet God, I can't possibly do this." Like it's great. It's a good running gag. But also a note that I wrote was listening to Miss Ayumi, the teacher, in the background whenever the characters are doing something. Is Jesus Christ, Japanese school curriculums are really hard because I had no idea what the hell she was talking about every time she was talking, and it was just like, man, I know it was just filler noise. But it was good filler noise, and they didn't care. They committed to it. So Biko has trouble remembering a superpowered redhead from kindergarten. I'm gonna buy that.
Until she sees a picture.
Yeah, until she gets a data file.
Basically, Biko is Lex Luthor.
You figure everyone would remember that.
I have a funny, interesting fact to point out. How old do you think they are? These
the kids? Well, they're all high schoolers. So I couldn't begin to tell you.
So you thought it was high school as opposed to say like college?
Oh yeah, that was high school. They got the sailor outfits, and it's called Graviton High School in the English dub anyway.
Did not know that.
Why? What were your thoughts? Besides the fact that we were looking at underage nudity.
And there where I was going for. Actually, by the time we meet them in the third episode, they are 16.
That tracks. Yeah. Well, it's.
I mean, they were, like kindergarten, and then this is 10 years later. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's we can take a moment to speak about the nature of Japanese anime. Like a lot of stuff takes place in high school. A lot of characters are high school age. That's just how it is. I mean, but this is prevalent in everything. Look, Ikitosen is a bunch of high schoolers. Senran Kagura is a bunch of ninja high schoolers. It's like high school is a main thematic device, and for a lot of reasons, right? Because the target audience is young teens, young adults. That's something that's going to be more in their wheelhouse. It's not like you're going to write a lot of great anime about salarymen.
Which some good ones do exist, but that's besides the point.
Right. So.
Saga of Tanya the Evil, Salaryman.
I guess I was bringing that up because of the fact that at the time we were watching this, we were teenagers.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I certainly didn't invent a mankini with endless missiles, but yes, we were definitely teenagers.
Right.
I would pay serious money to see someone cosplay that outfit.
I feel like that's got to exist.
Someone.
I feel like it's got to exist. Someone.
I think it needs to be you, Lynette.
No, the guy.
No, she wants the dad. She wants the mankini version.
I want the mankini.
Hey, I'll do it.
He's got the boots and the helmet.
One of the weirdest scenes in this film that never landed with me for a very long time was the Colonel. When they're in the movie theater and they're watching the movie and the kid is freaking out because the Colonel was coming. Admittedly, creepy. The Colonel is probably the scariest villain I've seen in a long time. Obviously, I get that it's a Colonel Sanders reference and that's a KFC joke. But at the same time, I'm like, this is more than that, and I don't understand it. And the reason why is I guess it was a reference to an anime called Harmageddon, which I never saw. Fun little weird musing there. I also love the nature of Siko's relationship to Eiko. And by love, I mean I'm terrified by it. She is horribly codependent to an alarming degree. But I love that Eiko's so over it that she's dropping facts on her. Is like, maybe it's because you only think about yourself and you're kind of a whiny little and like all this and Siko's just like, I'm gonna forgive you, let's go. Like that's true friendship right there. That's what
Right?
this whole anime is about. It's just friendship.
I think, yeah.
I love Biko. Oh my gosh, she's gonna die. See you later. And then she just
Yeah. There's so many little quips in this. When the captain is on the ship and the captain is talking to the crew and the crew's like, there was an unidentified metal object in our way. Like, is nothing, but it's this entire spaceship that was like this huge deal to the Earth team. And they just kind of said it in passing. It was just an unidentified metal object in our way. No big deal. And the captain has these awesome little compasses in her boots. They're like little light up compasses. So there's no detail goes like unthought of in this. It's just great.
I like how they just completely. We talked about it before with the whole bathing suit, you know. But at the end of it, when you find that the ship is just balancing on the top of the tallest building,
Yes, anime physics, man.
and we're all just like,
Yep. It just landed just right.
Yeah, that's possible.
I love all that. I love how just self-aware they are of the absurdity. Like the kindergarten flashbacks, right? She's like, they do all this kindergarten flashbacks, and then when they cut to them remembering Biko, I was dying. She's got the little bob cut, and she's just a little with her.
right? Who does she look like?
Oh my god, it was so funny. I do want to call attention to Biko's brilliance. Biko is an amazing inventor who maybe doesn't think things through completely, but like her first, I wrote them down, right? Her
First mech design.
her first mech design was
Oh
a
my
power
God.
suit, and it was basically Maddox 1. If you haven't seen Maddox 1, that's pretty much what the first suit was. It was great. And the second one was the Max 5000 with the greatest car sales pitch going through the features. And I love that Eiko just lets her go through all the features. Like, sure, I got time. Go for it. What else does it have? Reclining seats? Beautiful. And that's
And obviously no legroom.
right. So they cut to the cockpit and there's so much weird, stupid shit in there. There's a globe, freaking bamboo water font. Horribly over-engineered.
She's all contorted and she can't reach the controls.
Oh god, it's so great. And then the third group, the Abashiyama 5, which is clearly a reference to like Power Rangers, that kind of a shtick with the color-coded teams. And God Almighty, that animation for that scene when Eiko just snaps and destroys them. I can watch that scene over and over again.
But to further explain her brilliance, how quickly she designed and built every single thing.
Overnight, like everyone is like overnight. I'm gonna design and build a team of 5 multicolored robots overnight. So good.
And then after all that,
But that's the beauty of it. But then we get to, of course, the best of the suits, or the best of the inventions, which is her awesome bikini power suit. And this is one of those moments where the dub really shined for me. And I watched the scene subbed and I watched it dubbed. And in the subbed version, she busts out in her suit and the music all kicks in, and then and she's like, with this, I can match you, whatever. And in the English one, they do the same bit, same music and all that, except they decided to add a line, and it was the first thing I thought is an absolute expression of what any person seeing this would think. It was ain't it cold in that? And they added that. It's just added Eiko saying that. It was just brilliant. There's lots of little moments of brilliance in the dub that are there's so many great lines. There really are. But then we get to what is easily my favorite scene in this whole movie, for obvious reasons. And it's the Macross moment. It's the spaceship in the dark. It's the giant spaceship coming out with just top tier animation of this entire sequence. And the fighter jets, going out, the missile trails, the Etano Circus, the bubbles. The whole thing is so Macross that it's blatant. It's just blatantly Macross. And I was there for
God, yeah.
Every second of it. I'll watch that scene over and over again because it's just so good. But it was one of those things that was so good that I wanted to spend more time there. But I know that's not what the story is about.
So then, after that scene is my favorite scene, and that's when Biko gets Aiko with the whip, and she's like, "Down, down again, down." I say,
Does she go through that in the sub, guys? Are the lines as quippy as they are in the English one?
I don't remember. I don't think so. No.
No, I think she just goes, "Gotcha," and then I'm doing it again.
See,
And
it's
then
just
again.
you have to go back and
I
watch
think
it in
that's
the
what it
dub.
is. Yeah,
You have to
I
go
can't
back and
remember the
watch it in the
full
dub.
words, but
there's
yeah.
just so many little things. I just like the way that when the ship's coming, the big spaceship in the dark. I keep calling it that because it's the name of the track in the soundtrack. Is and the commander's all like, "It's condition red, go!" And then the lady, the subordinate, she gets on the PA and she's like, "All strike units scramble immediately. All strike units scramble immediately." Like the calmest, like you're in a waiting room for an airplane.
Spider ships launching the spider ships.
Oh my gosh. And then of course we don't have time to negotiate in a civilized way. Destroy it. That was I can gush about this so much because it came out at a time where we didn't have a lot of really great stuff, but the stuff we got was really great in the sense of we didn't have quantity, but we certainly had quality. And this was quality. It's just quality. And even if you didn't get all the references, it was still an entertaining story with beautiful animation and just a wild sense of humor, which I appreciated.
I think that if you need to see a later version of this whole story reimagined, you would have to say One Punch Man.
I could see that. I could see how One Punch Man is like in the same spiritual wheelhouse, especially with the way Eiko dispatches Biko's inventions.
I can see the parallels.
Maybe not with the same, but even then, One Punch Man had the same self awareness
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. I can see that. I agree with that. There's just man, I love the captain's alcoholism. I thought that shit was so funny.
My God.
That was the same. That was not the Macross, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The captain of that ship is, oh my God, her alcoholism is just like it's crippling alcoholism. Just like,
Right.
I'm gonna shoot you. Oh shit, I need a drink. Like
or striking a pose at just the right moment where the gun looks perfectly phallic.
yes.
The gun is all smoking.
Oh my God, I can't even with this. And I know I'm just like talking about random beats, but really the narrative of this is very basic for a story, in the sense of it's just high school drama. It just so happens that one of them's a genius inventor and the other one's a Superman's daughter.
Never would have caught that part.
Pure comedic gold.
And the obsessive compulsion. So when I first watched this, it was blatantly obvious that Biko was gay, and she did not want Siko to just be her friend. She just didn't have a word for what she wanted Siko to be. But she was very hard into Siko for whatever reason that is.
For whatever reason that is.
Siko is so annoying that she almost hurts the quality of this film, but she doesn't because everybody knows it.
I'm gonna ask a question to Lynette. So, if you could choke one person, Zico or Pie?
Oof.
Oh.
And just for those of you listening, we're talking about Pie from 3x3 Eyes, specifically English dubbed Pie from 3x3
I would
Eyes.
still have to say Pie. I mean, I would still have to say Pie. Yeah, because at least Siko, she gets told. I mean, even the teacher goes, "That's enough. You're annoying." And then she goes, "Okay," and then she sits down.
So Miss Ayumi is the teacher. She is a character from the Cream Lemon series that they reimagined into this. I don't remember the character's original name. Might just be Ayumi. I don't know. But she's definitely they reused her for this. And boy, do they reuse her for this. In the sequels, she gets used more and more. And in the fourth one, the final it's called, she has like a starring role. So the character really kind of graduates from supporting to much
Wait a
much
minute.
bigger.
Are you telling me she has more character development than Ryu?
Yeah. Yeah, Misayumi has more character development than Ryu because she does more than just walk around and give kids money for spilt milk.
You know who she
Uh,
reminded me
And
of?
punch things.
And I know that they hadn't gotten to this point yet, and we're so far removed. But she reminded me of Bulma. Not
yeah,
just the blue hair, but
right.
just the way she was speaking. I wonder if it's the same actress.
I mean, it could be. It could also be that that was intentional. That they're like, we're going for a Bulma vibe, you know? Because they, again, everything about this series is so self-aware that it's absurd. Did any of you guys? I know Brian, you watched part 2, but did any of you guys watch 2 or 3 or 4?
Watch two.
I
2.
did
Okay.
not. I just rewatched one.
So 3, 2 is, in my opinion, 2 is the weaker of the sequels. I think that 3 is a better one, and then 4 is, you know, again in that same wheelhouse. None of these sequels match up to 1.
No, I would agree with that statement. But I actually thought two was better than three.
Did you really? I liked 3. I liked the whole plot with them all pining after the boy. I thought that shit was funny.
And the boy wanted Zico.
Right. Yeah, I'll bring you guys up to speed.
She like one of those really ugly dogs where they just kind of circle back around and become cute. You
I
know?
guess.
No,
Is the voice? I don't know because,
same dog,
and again, it's
same
just
dog.
Dog.
heads
Oh, I'm
up,
sorry, same dog.
hands down, fantastic English casting. Kasiko is just as annoying in English as she is in Japanese, if not more. It is brilliantly done. It's just I love in the second one, Queen Margarita, the whole like Volt form Voltron sequence in there. It's brilliant. It's so good. It's just the fact that the dad wears an Elvis suit as his like super suit for piloting. It's just so many great little things and so many references throughout, right? It's like whatever they couldn't squeeze into the first one, they managed to make sure they had added to 2, 3, and 4. I never watched the red or blue side battle ones because they take place apparently in like an alternate universe version. They're not part of official canon, I guess. So I never actually watched them. But they throw in so much. Just I'm rapid firing here. I saw Megazone 23 bikes, Dangayo, Transformers, the giant robot genre in general. Gotcha Man. This Misayumi basically turns into a Gotcha Man character at one point. It's just so much crazy in this whole series. And in 4 you meet Seiko's mom. And that goes about how you think it will. Just picture in your head and that's about what you get. So, I don't know, for something that's so self-aware and so willing to poke fun at the very genre that they're representing. I feel like
Genres.
genres. I feel like this title, and this is gonna be my closing on this, is I feel like this title holds up so well that you can watch it now and catch references to things that it may not have even been intentionally referencing, but the tropes are so common throughout anime over the decades that we've had it that the jokes are still relevant, maybe even funnier because now there's so much more of it, like endless amounts of missiles, ridiculously skimpy outfits for fighting females, stupidly complex giant robots. Like just all of these things are so common that I feel like it lifts this title up and makes it that much more timeless. I didn't mean to rope it into a final thoughts bit, but I did. That's my bit on this. So let's go there. Vic, how do you feel about Eiko all these years later? 1992.
It is still comedic gold. I mean, it's like I watched it a few times over the years, and every single time, it's like you always find that new thing that you didn't catch the time before, or you realize that reference is, specific to this or that, or just little things in the back. It's just mind blowing, and the fact that what we watched was essentially one of the older releases, and now
Yeah.
I'm really dying to watch the recent Discotheque release since they did it based off the original masters, and I just want to see what else is just hidden in Eiko.
It looks great. I wish I had ripped it, but I don't have a Blu-ray player anymore to rip things with, so I'll just have to lend it to you and you can rip it for me. But I bought it, of course. I pre-ordered it. I am a self-proclaimed Eiko fanatic. I love the series. I love the anime. I have the vinyl soundtrack, the CD soundtrack, the DVD release, the Blu-ray release. I had the VHS release. Like, there's no opportunity to own this that I didn't take. I love this film so much.
Yeah, I
I
think I still actually do have the VHS release as well as the DVD release.
I love films that aren't afraid to be self-aware, and I think like Deadpool. This is like an anime Deadpool. It's very much willing to just take jabs at itself, and I love it so much for it. Lynette, as a first timer to Project Echo, as a first timer to almost everything we've recorded as of this point, uh, how did you like Echo, and how do you feel it could stand up to a modern audience?
Enjoyed it, and I would have to say you don't have to get all the cute Easter eggs to really enjoy it even then, because I haven't seen all of Macross or anything like that. But I still loved it. I love the not this again when the missiles kept getting fired. I love the spider attack, tank counterattack, and
Oh yes.
they're always calling out the names of their attacks. And I just loved it. I loved how when she was running late, she caused the streets to rip apart like a river, and you know, it's enjoyable on its own.
And
It's
somehow they were rebuilt the next day.
Yes, it's enjoyable on its own, but the value is added when you can watch the other stuff and you can get where the pieces are too. So
Yeah, I loved all that. I agree with you when they're doing the attacks. Echo tank gun fire, and then spider nip crush. Like just coming up with as they're fighting. Oh man,
Makes you
again,
wonder what the pilots were thinking.
just brilliant. I'll tell you what one pilot was thinking specifically. The pilot whose cockpit she landed on.
I forgot about that. She rode a jet like it was a horse. I forgot about that.
And what's funny with that, her skirt got shorter for that sequence.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, and then jumped from missile to missile as they were firing. This is how you know she's Superman's daughter.
It was all there. It was all there.
I just loved it how she's riding and she's sitting on the glass and he's like, I can't see, and she goes, don't look. And you're like,
It's like, it's there.
It's like his heads up display like focuses on her panties. Like
I meant to say that one in episode 2. She goes like 48 hours without changing her panties. I was like, you nasty.
she's
Like, you
she's
nasty.
nasty. She nasty.
Ugh.
Oh, good lord.
So my final thought is I felt like it was an animated Mel Brooks film.
That's a beautiful, beautiful way to describe it.
And you're
feel
not
like,
wrong.
I feel like you're on that. That's right.
Like there are so many times when you're watching a Mel Brooks film and you feel like, say, Blazing Saddles. Right? Blazing Saddles was so aware of how racist it was.
Love that movie so
So
much.
aware of it, right?
Right.
The same way this could be aware of just so many of the tropes that they're just, you got to be silly for doing stuff like this. But I also agree with Lynette that you don't need to know where they were getting it from to recognize that these are really good. It's a really good film. But if you do recognize where Mel Brooks got the Schwartz from, it makes it just much better. So that was my thought.
I agree. It's like exactly.
Yeah, once you know where the reference is from, it's like the icing on the cake.
It really is. Yeah. And I mean, for listeners who are tuned into this, if you want it, it's available. Discotech, probably my favorite American anime distributor. They released just a fantastic copy. It's kind of a fun story, so I'm glad we still have a little time to discuss it. But the masters to this film were lost.
Or so they thought.
So they thought. So they had to come up, or they didn't have come up with, but they decided to use a digital upscaling technology. Vic can tell me the name because I don't remember it.
Yeah, I think it was the Doomsday Duplicator where they actually pretty much ripped the laser disc.
Right.
And then they clean up everything frame by frame.
Yeah. And a high-res scan of the laser disc, clean it up frame by frame. They decided, Discotech said, well, this is how we're going to do it.
And they started.
oh, as a side note, for children who don't know what a laser disc is, that is a very large CD. It is a record that plays movies.
Yes, yeah, that is. I mean, it is an
Laserdisc.
analog format.
Don't you have a laser disc on that?
Yes, I do.
I have one hanging. I gave Vic all my other ones.
I have a working Laserdisc player.
Do
So
you really? Oh, I'm
Mhm.
impressed. So that's why I got rid of mine because I don't have a player. They're both Macross, but a Super Dimension Fortress Macross. Do you remember Love on Laserdisc? And I have Macross 7, one of the episodes on Laserdisc, just because the cover art was so cool. But yeah, I don't have a player, so I gave like all my other Laserdiscs to Vic.
Yep. And as a side note to the children as well, yes, you did have to flip it over to continue watching the
Oh, hells
movie.
yes, you
through.
did. It was a record. You're absolutely right. It's the best way to describe it. So, and it was an analog format, which was always astounding to me. So the fact that they were able to use this Doomsday duplicator and they started the whole project, and they released a clip of the film and what they'd been doing, and it was gorgeous. And then one of my favorite people in the world, Mr. Woodhead from Animego, he went to Japan to pick up masters for a film that he was doing a restoration on. Was it Megazone? I think it was Megazone.
It was Megazone or something else. I forget.
Yeah, and he went to Japan to pick up masters for Megazone 23 to do his Kickstarter release. And when he was there to pick it up, he found the original masters for Project Echo misfiled.
Yeah.
It's in the wrong place in this library of master reels.
Was it called Project Seco instead of Echo?
So then he called up the guys at Discotech and he's like, "Hey guys, I think I got something you might need." So then they scratched the whole Doomsday project, got the masters, and then did a full HD scan of it, which
You know he got a raise. You know
Well,
he got a raise.
So he runs Animego. For those of you in the know and in our age group, Animego did a bunch of great shit back in the day. Maddox 1 was, I think, their very first release, but they also did the DVD release of Super Dimension Fortress Macross. They had a dubbed version. They went through the process of getting that done. They did, God, so much material. And so he's been doing this forever. He did it back when subtitling, you couldn't even be done on a computer. Like they had like a whole system they had just to do subtitling. So he's an old mainstay in the anime industry. So just more street cred for the guy because I just think he's great for what he did for the West. But yeah, he found the masters, called up his buddies over at Discotech. It was pretty cool.
That sounds like that would be a killer interview for you.
Yeah. So Robert, I know you listen to the podcast. I know you're a fan. Just give me a call. Let's make this happen.
When this episode goes up, we're just gonna have to, tag him on it.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, there you go, folks. I mean, it's Project Echo was a brilliant piece of self-aware film cinema that was lost to time and then refound, and also had just a banging soundtrack. I'm sorry, I love the soundtrack to this movie. It's so good. And I'm not necessarily talking about all the songs, but like the score, the instrumental. It's great. I listen to the instrumental all the time. I highly recommend it. Anybody else have anything they want to add about Echo before we go?
That was great. Yeah, I think we did it. I think we did it justice.
Just a great movie.
All right, cool. Well, I mean, in that case, folks, that's going to be the end of our show for this week. Until next time, keep calm and use more Akiyama missiles.
You've just been privy to the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd, presented by Geek Grotto. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Geek Grotto. For show notes and corrections or for general geeky fun, you can visit our website at geek-grotto.com. If you would like to sponsor the show, you can do so on the podcast's Red Circle host site, redcircle.com/shows/MMMAN. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, please like, follow, and subscribe.